had this comment on Reddit that somebody asked about can they still touch the Gita if they haven't been able to take a shower because they broke their leg? And my mind was blown a little bit about like, oh, wait a second. Am I supposed to be taking a shower before I read the Gita? And then hilariously, I told Shay that story, and Shay and I both took a shower right before we came to record.
What is your path to Dharma?
The best part of this story is that we were kind of shaking it off at first when we were talking about it. It's like, no, we don't need to take a shower. Like, we don't. And then, coincidentally, we both end up taking a shower and brushing our teeth.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Before we sit down.
We realized that here we are, reporting straight from the heart of America. We're on a secret mission for Krishna. Well, it's not that secret anymore, but an open mission for Krishna. So we don't know about all the traditions and the way to pray and the way to prepare and cleanse and purify. And we literally don't know any of that. We're just actually following what we feel Krishna has us doing. We're on task for Krishna. So welcome to our podcast. I'm Shannon. This is my beautiful daughter, Shay. This is the Path of Dharma. And we are going to get through 2 chapters of the Srimad Bhagavatam tonight. We have been learning so much wisdom. We have been just every single time we get together to read this, I feel like a little part of my soul opens up a little bit more. And I'm really grateful to be doing this with you, my dear. How are you?
I'm so ready to get into it. I feel rejuvenated. I feel on task, on purpose. All of the things.
All of the things, all of the things. So here we are on Canto One, Chapter 9. We're going to get through at least Chapter 9 and 10 tonight. And it's been getting good. It's been getting really good.
Okay, so take a pause. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. I can't find the other part. Oh, by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact.
Oh, ow! Go Krishna! Team Krishna!
Go! Team Krishna! Go Krishna! Give me a K!
K!
Give me an R!
Can you spell it right?
We love you, Krishna!
We love you, Krishna! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay.
And we're getting somewhere in this book.
We're getting somewhere.
Yeah. We're getting deep.
We're getting into the story. We're getting deep into the story. Sutta Goswami's getting into it. So essentially where we're at is the Kurukshetra. Am I saying that? Kurukshetra war is over. Okay.
Yes.
I know. So bear with us.
Yeah.
Dear friends. I feel like we've been struggling a little bit on the pronunciation.
We're doing perfect.
We're doing good. We're doing perfect. So the war's over. Everyone is sad. There's some kind of a little bit intense events coming that have happened. And so here we are, Chapter 9, the passing away of Bhisma Deva in the presence of Lord Krishna.
Shall I begin or you?
I think you begin. You begin.
Okay. Sutta Goswami said, being afraid for having killed so many subjects on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Maharaja Yudhishthira went to the scene of the massacre. There, Bhisma Deva was lying on a bed of arrows about to pass away. At that time, all his brothers followed him on beautiful chariots drawn by first-class horses decorated with gold ornaments. With them were Vyasu and rishis like Damya, the learned priest of the Pandavas, and others. O sage amongst the Brahmins, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, also followed, seated on a chariot with Arjuna. Thus King Yudhishthira appeared very aristocratic, like Kuvera surrounded by his companions. Seeing him, Bhisma, that is, lying on the ground, like a demigod fallen from the sky, the Pandava king Yudhishthira, along with his younger brothers and Lord Sri Krishna, bowed before him. Just to see the chief of the descendants of King Bharata, Bhisma, all the great souls in the universe, namely the rishis among the demigods, Brahmins, and kings, all situated in the quality of goodness, were assembled there. That was the first verse where I'm like, I need to say that again or something.
Yeah, okay.
Just to see. Okay, so all these people are convening just to see Bhishma
Just
before
to
he
see
passes.
him. Yes.
Okay. Now we are on Canto 1, Chapter 9, text 6 and 7.
6 and 7.
All the sages like Parvata Muni, Narada, Damya, Vyasu, the incarnation of God, Bhardvasya, Bharadvaja, and Parasurama, and disciples Vastiha, Indrapramada, Trita, Gritsamada, Asita, Kaksivan, Gautama, Atri, Kasika, and Sudarsana.
You got it.
Were present.
Holy cow. It's like, wow.
I think I did pretty
You
good,
made it.
actually.
You did great. You did great. Actually. Great
It's so
job.
funny because, like, I don't know what I'm going to be reading next.
Right.
So,
I mean, that is slightly the downfall of not reading ahead because,
yes,
like, you
that's
can't
true.
sound this stuff out. Okay.
That's true.
That's a lot of people. Okay, so a lot of people have come to see the scene of
All the
Bhisma,
sages,
like
all the
all the
sages came.
sages, like
Yes.
everyone important left on Earth right now, going to see him. There's a lot to say in the commentaries, like 4 pages of it.
There's so much. I'm interested. I need like a reminder of who Bhishma really is. Bhishma is he like the person who taught archery? Like he's um like he was like a guide. Am I right? Am I right in thinking that?
Probably. No, you have to look him up now because I feel like there's so many characters, it's going to be obvious. He's not one of the Pandava brothers, is he?
Oh, here's Sprucey. No, I don't believe so. Bhishma is a prominent and revered character in the Indian epic, the Mahabharata, which is also a part of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhishma, whose full name is Bhishma Pitama, is a key figure in the Mahabharata and plays a significant role in the Srimad as well. Bhishma is the son of King Shantanu and the goddess Ganga.
Yeah.
He is blessed with a long life and ability to choose the time of his death,
Okay.
known as Icha Mritya or Mrityu, due to a vow of celibacy. He renounces the throne and the opportunity to become king, allowing his father to marry Satyavati, who later becomes the mother of the Kuru princes.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
Yes. It's
He
coming
serves
back.
as the grand uncle and mentor. This is what I know of him.
Okay.
He serves as the grand uncle and mentor to the Kurus and the Pandavas.
Got you. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So he's about to die of his choice then.
Right. Now that we know
Basically,
this,
now that we know he's about to die of his choice. So
all the sages have gathered.
so everyone's gathered and he's likely waiting for them to get there. Text 8 and many others like Sukadeva Goswami and other purified souls, Kasyapa and Angirasa and others, all accompanied by their respective disciples, arrived there. So Sutta Goswami was there? Sukadeva Goswami. That's probably somebody else. Is that a different? That's a different person,
I think
right?
so. Somebody said that in the comments.
Yeah, it's a very similar name, but I think it is a different person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, text 9. Bhisma Deva, who was the best among the 8 Vasus, received and welcomed all the great and powerful rishis who were assembled there, for he knew perfectly all the religious principles according to time and place.
Mm.
So is it like he's getting almost like this idea of the last rites kind of you'll hear about in like Catholicism? Someone's about to die and there's like prayers that are said over them or into them.
Seems like it.
something like that is happening. Excuse me. Okay, text 10. Lord Sri Krishna is situated in everyone's heart, yet he manifests his transcendental form by his internal potency. This very Lord was sitting before Bhisma Deva, and since Bhisma Dev knew of his glories, he worshipped him duly.
Mm.
I mean, wow, that's pretty amazing to have Krishna show up at your death.
Right?
Wow. Um, text 11. The sons of Maharaja Pandu were sitting silently nearby, overtaken with affection for their dying grandfather. Seeing this, Bhismadev congratulated them with feeling. There were tears of ecstasy in his eyes, for he was overwhelmed by love and affection. Ah,
Uh,
I can see the
uh,
scene. And he sang goodbye to them. And
this
then,
is how
like,
I want to die. This
I
is how I
mean,
want to die.
right? Anybody who's ever been with somebody who's been passing away in that moment of their passing is so intense, so poignant, like what's happening here. Text 12.
Oh.
Do you want to pick it up in text 12?
Bhishma Dev said, "Oh, what terrible sufferings and what terrible injustices you good souls suffer for being the sons of religious personified. You did
Yeah.
not deserve to remain alive under those tribulations, yet you are protected by the Brahmins, God, and religion."
Yeah. One things that I noticed just reading the Mahabharata and then this, 10,000 events have happened. So
So many,
many things.
so
Epic
many.
amount of things have happened. I mean, they were literally like sent to the forest for multiple different like several
Yeah,
year long banishments,
it's like huge thing after huge thing after
one
huge
after
thing.
another after another. It never ends, their whole entire lives.
Yeah.
But I have to, as we sort of break down what all this is, these characters that are playing out these archetypes,
Mm.
even, real people in the sense of, these epic things. There's things that happen to these people that if only one of those events were to happen to one of us, it would be the most epic, probably tragic thing that happened to us. And they had
Right.
multiple over and over. That's what their
Mm.
soul signed up for, though. They probably
Yeah.
did penance for that, to be able to play these characters out for us. Do you know what I mean? To be able to go through these epic events so that we can know ourselves, so that we can know that the tribulations we're going through are nothing, honestly.
All right. I have to shout out a listener and I'm going to read their comment because I remember their comment as you're talking about this. And
Yeah,
so I
okay,
want to read their
yeah.
comment. Ray Ren Kaye. And they posted on our latest official Krishna fan club video.
Okay.
Only when even the enlightened beings, rishis, and righteous humans, devas, Gandharvas, and all the demigods and spirits of mountains, rivers, and Mother Earth fail to maintain the balance between the three modes of Prakriti, do avatars like Krishna, Ram, Shiva, or the various goddesses like Kali or Durga descend on the material plane at different planets. The Vedas say that the entire cosmos reverberates with the strong vibration of approaching avatar. It will take another something like 4 million years for Krishna to reappear among us at the end of Kali Yuga in a different form and name. And so when we think about all these epic things that happen to these people and Krishna being there and thinking like it's a miracle, well, it's like, no, none of those other things could help, right? They couldn't keep the modes of material nature and Prakriti like balanced. So Krishna had to come. So of course, all these epic things happened.
Of course they
Slash were
did.
happening. Right
No.
now, like the three modes are not balanced,
Yeah, no, it makes
you
sense.
know?
So all the epic amount of things that have to happen to balance them are hence
Right. Right.
happening. Yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Which
And
is so
it's like,
cool that we get to read the story.
and it's like amazing. It's like we're broadcasting deep from Kali Yuga right now. And
Yeah.
and it's like
Mm-hmm.
we're seeing the effects of the Kali Yuga in our everyday lives. So the fact that all of these things that went down to help us deal with our present circumstance that is so epically far away from this. It's pretty amazing that this has survived.
I mean,
Okay.
broadcasting from Kali Yuga. I mean, that could be the title. That could be our podcast.
Right. Live from Kali Yuga.
I actually want to start with that.
I know, right?
Just to remind everybody and ourselves, you know?
Yeah, for sure. In these random, like in the middle of deep in the middle of America, no less. It
Right.
is bananas here, y'all. Bananas. Okay.
I'm reading text 12 again and then continuing.
Yeah, Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto One, text 12.
Chapter 9, text 12. Bhisma Dev said, "Oh, what terrible sufferings and what terrible injustices you good souls suffer for being the sons of religious personified. You did not deserve to remain alive under those tribulations, yet you are protected by the Brahmins, God, and religion. As far as my daughter-in-law Kunti is concerned, upon the great General Pandu's death, she became a widow with many children, and therefore she suffered greatly. And when you were grown up, she suffered a great deal also because of your actions."
Yeah, we were talking about that. Everything Kunti's been through. And remember how Kunti was like, I would do it again and again and again just to be in your presence, Krishna?
Which I found out that's like a super famous verse. Of course.
Of
Of
course
course
it
it
is.
is.
Of
Right?
course it
That's
is.
a super famous verse that, people
Of
like
course. Well, it's famous for a reason. It really touched our heart. So just not even knowing that it's a famous verse.
I mean, I've thought
Of
about it every
course.
day since,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes. Yes. Okay, text 14. In my opinion, this is all due to inevitable time, under whose control everyone in planet is carried, just as the clouds are carried by the wind. Text 15. Oh, how wonderful is the influence of inevitable time. It is irreversible. Otherwise, how can there be reverses in the presence of King Yudhishthira, the son of the demigod controlling religion, Bhima, the great fighter with the club, the great bowman Arjuna with his mighty weapon Gandava, and above all, the Lord, the direct well-wisher of the Pandavas? O King, no one can know the plan of Sri Krishna, of Lord Sri Krishna. Even though great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they are bewildered. Yes, I feel that. I feel that. Text 17.
Page 444.
444. O best among the descendants of Bharata, I maintain, therefore, that all this is within the plan of the Lord. Accepting the inconceivable plan of the Lord, you must follow it. You are now the appointed administrative head, and, my Lord, you should now take care of those subjects who are now rendered helpless.
Wow.
Okay. I think he's about to really lay down some deep truths here. That's my guess. Let's keep going.
Wait. Who did he just appoint?
When you're talking right here, like who did he just say I appoint you?
Yeah. Does it
He's
say
talking about
who?
Yudhishthira. Yeah. The best
Oh,
among the
he is.
descendants of Bharata, Yudhishthira. I
Oh,
maintain,
okay.
therefore,
Okay.
that this is all within the plan of the
Yep.
Lord. So him.
Mm-hmm.
Is he now the oldest? Is that why? Because everyone's dying? If he's the grandfather and he's about to die?
I don't know. Potentially. Well, Yudhishthira is now in power, right?
Yeah. He's he's going to be the king after this, I guess, right?
I think.
Okay. Where are we? Text 18. This Sri Krishna is no other than the inconceivable, original personality of Godhead. He is the first Naranya, the supreme enjoyer. I love that. But he is moving amongst the descendants of King Vrishni, just like one of us, and he is bewildering us with his self-created energy. The supreme enjoyer. I want that as a title.
That's a
Amazing.
great one.
That's a
Yeah.
good one.
Another podcast name.
Yeah, that's another podcast name.
That's
Okay.
a mug or a t-shirt. The Supreme Enjoyer.
Yeah, for sure. Krishna, the supreme enjoyer. That's going on my next hat. Text 19. O King, Lord Shiva, Narada, the sage amongst the demigods, and Kapila, the incarnation of Godhead, all know very confidently about his glories through direct contact. Say that again. Now you read that one. I feel like
O
I'm sitting
king,
there.
O king, talking to Yudhishthira.
Yeah.
Lord Shiva, Narada, the sage amongst the demigods, and Kapila, the incarnation of Godhead, all know very confidently about his glories through direct contact. So he's still talking to Yudhishthira. He's telling them,
Yeah.
he's saying, O king, all of these people know confidently about Krishna's glories because they've been with him.
They got to play in his actual physical
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
That's wild. Like if you were alive during Krishna's time and you got to play while he was here. Wow.
Kind of makes me want to pass out.
It kind of like, I mean, how much penance did you have to do in the universe to even get into that game? A bunch, I bet. How many lives? Text
Shit
20.
ton. O king, that personality whom, out of ignorance only, you thought to be your material cousin, your very dear friend, well-wisher, counselor, messenger, benefactor, etc., is that very personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. So is he just finding out that Krishna is Krishna?
Or is he just reminding him?
Oh,
I
maybe.
mean, do you get, I don't want to say get used to his presence, but in some way, you have to be somewhat desensitized by his presence as a
Right.
physical person.
Well, it's only now that during the war that Arjuna finds out that Krishna is who Krishna is.
True. That's true.
You
Like
know,
they know he's special. They
they know
do
he's
know.
special, but now he is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. He's not just Sri Krishna, he's personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And that
Yeah,
changes things up.
that does change it up. Text 21. Being the absolute personality of Godhead, he is present in everyone's heart. He is equally kind to everyone. He is free from the false ego of differentiation. Therefore, whatever he does is free from material inebriety. He is equibalanced. These words are really nice. These words, like our vocab is getting better just reading these books.
Oh,
Wow.
yes.
Equibalance. Let's work these into just conversation.
I mean, as I was telling you this morning, my obeisances to Lord Krishna were the sweetest I've ever given, and it was because I was using this language. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that's really why.
It's really nice.
Text
Okay.
22.
Text 22.
Yet despite his being equally kind to everyone, he has graciously come before me while I am ending
Okay.
my life, for I am his unflinching servitor.
Beautiful.
The personality of
Beautiful.
Godhead, who appears in the mind of the devotee by attentive devotion and meditation, and by chanting of the holy name, releases the devotee from the bondage of fruitive activities at the time of his quitting the material body.
Beautiful. We talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a thing that people do when somebody's dying? Is everyone chanting?
Yes, I believe so.
Is that what happens?
Yes.
I mean, you would think so. Sorry, I
And just
keep
having
doing that.
Krishna there, of course, Krishna has released him from the bondage of the fruitive activities. Of course.
Okay, text 24. May my Lord, who is four-handed and whose beautifully decorated lotus face, with eyes as red as the rising sun, is smiling, kindly await me at that moment when I quit this material body. Wow. Sutta Goswami said, Maharaja Yudhishthira, after hearing Bhishma speak in that appealing tone, asked him, in the presence of all the great rishis, about the essential principles of various religious duties.
Ah, here we go.
This is where it is. He's about to tell him all this stuff. Okay, text 26. At Maharaja Yudhishthira's inquiry, Bhishmadev first defined all the classification of castes and orders of life in terms of the individual's qualifications. Then he systematically, in twofold divisions, described counteraction by detachment and interaction by attachment. Just
Okay.
that alone.
Described counteraction by detachment and interaction by attachment.
That's another whole meme. Like,
That's
what does
karma.
what
That's
does that
karma,
mean?
right?
Yeah.
Counteraction. So you're not creating more. You're not interacting it. You're counteracting your own karma by detachment
Okay.
and interaction by attachment. Does it
That's
make sense?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I got to think that this is going to have to sink in. I'm going to have to read this later to myself.
I think I get that, but I'm sure
Okay.
they're going to explain more.
Right. Text 27. He then explained by divisions acts of charity, the pragmatic activities of a king, and activities for salvation. Then he described the duties of women and devotees, both briefly and extensively. So he is breaking it down.
Uh,
He's like, these are all the things you need to know.
yeah.
And I'm going to let you know. Here it all is. He's still going in text 28. He described the occupational duties of different orders, statuses of life, citing instances from history, for he himself was well acquainted with the truth. So he is really just giving him a whole. It sort of reminds me of when Abraham dies in the Bible. He calls his whole family together and has a very similar thing that he does where he talks to his sons and he
Mm,
basically says, I'm handing you down all this stuff. And he relates to them all this stuff, all of these like priestly duties and same thing. Text 29. While Bhishma Dev was describing occupational duties, the sun's course ran into the northern hemisphere.
which
This,
is that is significant, I'm pretty sure. Do you remember the part in the Bhagavad Gita where they talk about the different paths to dying?
yeah,
And that like the sun is setting in a certain time is good for your
right. This period is
so
desired by mystics who
oh
die at their will.
yes.
Right. That's
There you
it.
go.
So he's
Yep.
like, okay, there's the sun. I'm going out with the sun. Is that what
Mm-hmm.
happens?
Well, and it's significant, I think, that its course ran into the northern hemisphere.
What's the astrology of this? Somewhere there is a Veda all about astrology. I need to look
Oh,
this
I'm
up.
sure.
I'm
And
sure.
I'd love we should almost read that Gita verse at the end of this or something.
Where
It's
it
not a
says that,
verse. Read
right?
it. It might be a whole chapter, but it's one of my favorite chapters of the Gita.
Do you want to
Anyway,
pick up text 30?
okay. Thereupon, that man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meanings and who fought on thousands of battlefields and protected thousands of men stopped speaking, and being completely freed from all bondage, withdrew his mind from everything else and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who stood before him, four-handed, dressed in yellow garments that glittered and shined.
Wow. Did he have
Bhishma,
did he have
you,
4 arms when he was here?
I thought he only had two, but maybe,
But they always talk about having 4 arms, or like 4 hands. Or is that what does that mean, everyone?
yeah, someone tell us.
What does that mean? Keep going. Text
Which,
31.
just by the way, if you're somebody that's listening to this, and this is new to you as well, read our comments. Read the comments. There's a lot of knowledge you can learn there.
A
So
lot.
much.
So much.
So you're not alone. We got a book of knowledge under here in these comments.
Right.
Okay, text 31.
Text 31.
By pure meditation, looking at Lord Sri Krishna, he at once was freed from all material inauspiciousness and was relieved of all bodily pains caused by the arrow wounds. Thus, all the external activities, I forgot that he was literally being punctured by arrows while he's
Right.
talking about all this. Thus, all the external activities of his senses at once stopped, and he prayed transcendently to the controller of all living beings while quitting his material body.
Wow.
Bhishma Deva said, let me now invest my thinking, feeling, and willing, which were so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties, in the all powerful Lord Sri Krishna. He is always self satisfied, but sometimes, being the leader of the devotees, he enjoys transcendental pleasures by descending on the material world, although from him only the material world is created. Sri Krishna is the intimate friend. Am I on? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the intimate friend of Arjuna. He has appeared on this earth in his transcendental body, which resembles the bluish color of the Tamala tree. His body attracts everyone in the 3 planetary systems, upper, middle, and lower. May his glittering yellow dress and his lotus face, covered with paintings of sandalwood pulp, be the object of my attraction, and may I not desire fruitive results. On the battlefield, where Sri Krishna attended Arjuna out of friendship, the flowing hair of Lord Sri Krishna turned ashen due to the dust raised by the hoofs of the horses, and because of his labor, beads of sweat whittled his face. All these decorations, intensified by the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows, were enjoyed by him. Let my mind thus go unto Sri Krishna.
Wow. Just the scene he paints there. Krishna in battlefield, just covered in sweat and dust.
And
And
he's saying all this and his mind has already left
yeah,
his body.
it's already left. But that's what he's like thinking about.
Yes.
Like how enjoyable the whole enjoyer, the supreme enjoyer was having in this moment.
And I was just listening to Wisdom of the Sages this morning, and they're currently in India right now.
Okay.
And I think in Vrindavan, I can't remember exactly what city they're in, but they talked about going to one of the holy places in Vrindavan. Vrindavan is a holy place itself, but
Yeah.
they're like going to take this certain walk, and they see a man who is covering himself with the dust. He is literally all rubbed, like he's washing himself
Yeah.
clean with the dust.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like potentially the dust that Krishna
Right. And
had on
everyone
his
there like
face.
knows exactly what he's doing, likely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Amazing. Okay, text 35. In obedience to the command of his friend, Lord Sri Krishna entered the arena of the battlefield of Kurukshetra between the soldiers of Arjuna and Duryodhana. And while there, he shortened the lifespans of the opposite party by his merciful glance. This was done simply by his looking at the enemy. Let my mind be fixed upon that, Krishna. Ugh, he just glances at them. That's kind of what Kunti was talking about, how like they died in his presence. Like
Mm-hmm.
just dying in his presence. Just what an honor it is to die in his presence. Just looking at them. His merciful glance, no less. So like they didn't have to suffer the battle very long.
Text 36.
Text 36.
When Arjuna was seemingly polluted by ignorance upon observing the soldiers and commanders before him on the battlefield, the Lord eradicated his ignorance by delivering transcendental knowledge. May his lotus feet always remain the object of my attraction. Fulfilling my desire and sacrificing his own promise, he got down from the chariot, took up its wheel, and ran toward me hurriedly, just as a lion goes to kill an elephant. He even dropped his outer garment on the way. So now
Wow.
he's saying Arjuna did that. Arjuna, after hearing the transcendental knowledge, right?
Yeah, who drops the stuff?
I think he's talking about Arjuna.
You think he's talking about Arjuna? I thought he
Yeah.
was talking about Krishna.
Well, I think Well, it seems like no, right? In text 36, he's saying when Arjuna, seemingly polluted by ignorance, upon observing the soldiers and commanders before him on the battlefield, the Lord eradicated this by delivering him the Bhagavad Gita. May his
Mhm.
lotus feet always remain the object of my attention. Fulfilling my desire, sacrificing his own promise. I think he's talking about Arjuna here, but maybe he's not, because he even dropped his outer garment on the way.
I don't think he's talking about Krishna. I think he's talking about Krishna.
Oh, okay.
This is where our lack of knowledge about the Mahabharata war and the details are really not helping us out here. Let's just keep going a little bit, shall we?
Yes.
Text
This
38.
is where I was like reading the commentary a little bit because it can be
Yeah,
helpful at times,
yeah.
explaining that type of thing.
You text 38. May he, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who awards salvation, be my ultimate destination. On the battlefield, he charged me. Well, there you go. On the battlefield, he charged me
he's talking about
as if
Krishna.
angry because of the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows. His shield was scattered and his body was smeared with blood due to the wounds. So he did charge him. It was him he's talking about.
Yep.
At the moment of death, let my ultimate attraction be to Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. I concentrate my mind upon the chariot driver of Arjuna, who stood with a whip in his right hand and a bridle rope in his left, who was very careful to give protection to Arjuna's chariot by all means. Those who saw him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original forms after death. Right. I mean, what a thrill and an honor to be in a battle where Krishna is there actually fighting and you get to die in that battle. Nice. Amazing.
Text 40. Let my mind be fixed upon Lord Sri Krishna, whose motions and smiles of love attracted the damsels of the gopis. The damsels imitated the characteristic movements of the Lord after his disappearance from the Rasa dance.
Yeah.
At the Raja Suya Yajna, the sacrifice performed by Maharaj Yudhishthira, there was the greatest assembly of all the elite men of the world, the royal and learned orders, and in that great assembly Lord Sri Krishna was worshipped by one and all as the most exalted personality of Godhead. This happened during my presence, and I remembered the incident in order to keep my mind upon the Lord. Now I can meditate with full concentration upon that one Lord Sri Krishna, now present before me, because now I have transcended the misconceptions of duality in regard to his presence in everyone's heart, even in the hearts of the mental speculators. He is in everyone's heart. The sun may be perceived differently, but the sun is one.
Right. This is about when Krishna talks about it doesn't matter what God you're worshiping, you're actually worshiping Krishna. It doesn't matter what name you're calling out.
Yeah.
Krishna is
And
everything.
this is where it's like Krishna will shelter all of his devotees, all of us.
I feel it.
Yeah.
Just knowing about him shelters me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Just knowing I call out to him. It's nice. It's really nice. Text 43, Sutta Goswami said, thus, Bhisma merged himself in the super soul, Lord Sri Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, with his mind, speech, sight, and actions, and thus he became silent and his breathing stopped. Wow.
Bhisma is dead.
Text 44, knowing that Bhishma had merged into the unlimited eternity of the Supreme Absolute, all present there became silent like birds at the end of the day. I bet. God, they just listened to him pretty much like give his last words of wisdom. And the last thing he's talking about is like obeisance to Krishna, and then he dies. Just the what month's that
And
moment of then like
all of these people are on the battlefield.
Ugh.
In the middle of a battle.
Right. Right.
Or at least at the end of the battle, whenever it's actually taking place. A battle.
Yeah. Yes. Text 45, thereafter, both men and demigods sounded drums in honor, and the honest royal order commenced demonstrations of honor and respect, and from the sky fell showers of flowers.
Wow. Text 46.
Yeah.
O descendant of Sanaka, after performing funeral rituals for the dead body of Bhishma Dev, Maharaja Yudhishthira was momentarily overtaken with grief.
No doubt.
All the great sages then glorified Lord Sri Krishna, who was present there, by confidential Vedic hymns. So with hymns we're not supposed to know. Then all of them returned to their respective
Hermitages.
bearing always Lord Sri Krishna within their hearts. I mean, Just wow.
Yeah. Just wow. That's a scene there. That's just a whole scene there.
Yeah.
Just everyone gathering at the end of the battle and
Wow.
saying goodbye to this person who's like so now that we figured out who he is.
Revered.
Yeah, he's been so major, this major character. And they know he's choosing to die right now.
Mm-hmm.
And what a blessing to be able to die right there in the presence of Lord Sri Krishna. Wow. What an honor. So here we are in text 48. Thereafter, Maharaja Yudhishthira at once went to his capital, Hastinapura, ac-
Hastinapur.
Hastinapura,
Mm-hmm.
accompanied by Lord Sri Krishna, where he there consoled his uncle and aunt, Gandhari, who was an ascetic. After this, the great religious king, Maharaja Yudhishthira, executed the royal power in the kingdom strictly according to the codes and royal principles approved by his uncle and confirmed by Lord Sri Krishna. So he pretty much had a turnover by the king. He took over the kingdom. He knows what to do. And thus ends the first canto, ninth chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Passing Away of Bhishma Dev in the
Oh,
Presence
it's
of
a
Lord
what?
Sri Krishna.
Wow.
That's the end of that chapter. So we're doing two chapters tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going on to chapter 10, the departure of Lord Krishna for Dwaraka. So now Krishna is really getting ready to leave. We've already had this scene where he's leaving the palace and he said goodbye to Kunti, he said goodbye to the people there. Now he went out to the battlefield, witnessed the death of Bhishma, and now he's getting ready to actually leave, it sounds like.
Wow.
So let's go on. Text 1, chapter 10, departure of Lord Krishna.
Sanaka Muni asked, after killing his enemies who desired to usurp his rightful inheritance, how did the greatest of all religious men, Maharaj Yudhishthira, assisted by his brothers, rule his subjects? Surely he could not freely enjoy his kingdom with unrestricted consciousness. So this is the question that we're being asked now.
Yeah,
Sutta Goswami said, Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the maintainer of the world, became pleased after re-establishing Maharaja Yudhishthira in his own kingdom and after restoring the Kuru dynasty, which had been exhausted by the bamboo fire of anger. So Duryodhana, the blind king, is no longer the king. Yudhishthira is
right.
now the king.
Yes.
Text 3. Maharaja Yudhishthira, after being enlightened by what was spoken by Bhishma Dev and Lord Sri Krishna, the infallible, engaged himself in matters of perfect knowledge because all his misgivings were eradicated. Thus he ruled over earth and seas and was followed by his youngest brothers. Right, because Bhishma had just told him, laid it all down, this is what you had to do, this is what the caste system, this is
Right.
what everybody's roles are, all of that.
So he does it. Text 4.
Text 4. Go ahead.
During the reign of Maharaja Yudhishthira, the clouds showered all the water that people needed, and the earth produced all the necessities of man in profusion. Due to its fatty milk bag and cheerful attitude, the cow used to moisten the grazing milk ground with milk. Let me read that again. Due to
Mm-hmm.
its fatty milk bag and cheerful attitude, the cow used to moisten the grazing ground with milk.
All
Okay.
the milks, all the
Okay.
cows were happy.
All the cows are happy. Happy cows. Plenty
Happy
of
Mother Earth.
food. And Mother Earth is happy. Stuff back in balance, basically. The rivers, oceans, hills, mountains, forests, creepers, and active drugs in every season paid their tax quoted to the king in profusion. So he rules his kingdom. Text 6, because of the king having no enemy, the living beings were not at any time disturbed by mental agonies, diseases, or excessive heat or cold.
Wow.
Nice. Nice. Text 7, Sri
Shri.
Hari, Lord
Mm-hmm.
Sri Krishna, resided at Hastinapura for a few months to pacify his relatives and please his own sister. Okay, so he did stay around for a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm. which I'm pretty sure that's where wisdom of the sages are in Hastinapur. Pretty sure.
Okay, that's where they're
When
at.
they saw the person rubbing the dust all over themselves.
Okay, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Text 8.
Afterwards, when the Lord asked permission to depart and the king gave it, the Lord offered his respects to Maharaja Yudhishthira by bowing down at his feet, and the king embraced him. After this, the Lord, being embraced by others and receiving their obeisances, got into his chariot. At that time, Subhara, Draupadi, Kunti, Uttara, Gandhara, Dhritarashtra, Yuyutsu, Praktara, Nakulu, Sahadev, Bhishmasena, Damya, and Satyavati all nearly fainted because it was impossible for them to bear separation from Lord Krishna. So
Yeah.
this is where Draupadi was giving him those obeisances now as he departs.
Yeah.
It all makes sense as we're like reading it, and it's kind of like the timeline is coming together
Right.
of things.
So text 11 and 12. The intelligent who have understood the Supreme Lord in association with pure devotees and have become freed from bad materialistic association can never avoid hearing the glories of the Lord, even though they have heard them only once. How then could the Pandavas tolerate his separation? For they had been intimately associated with his person, seeing him face to face, touching him, conversing with him, and sleeping, sitting, and dining with him. Right.
Yeah, I
He's
can
been
only
there with
imagine.
them. He's been there with
Yeah.
them. In text,
Oh.
all their hearts were melting for him on the pot of attraction. Ah, what a line. They looked at him without blinking their eyes and they moved hither and thither in perplexity. Oh, they were dying. They didn't know what to do. They were really upset at this point because he's about to leave. Text 14, the female relatives whose eyes were flooded with tears out of anxiety for Krishna came out of the palace. They could stop their tears only with great difficulty. They feared that tears would cause misfortune at the
Mm-hmm.
time of departure. So they're trying to get it together and they don't want to be crying as he's leaving, but they're feeling it. Text 15. While the Lord was departing from the palace of Hastinapura, different types of drums. Wow, there's a bunch of them, all sounded together to show him honor. Do you want to read all the types of drum shape?
You know, I kind of do. Murdanga, Dola, Nagra, Dunduri, the Dum Dundubi, and flutes.
And flutes. The Vina, the Gomuka, and the Bari all
Yes.
sounded together. So all these different instruments. Out of loving desire to see the Lord, the royal ladies of the Kurus got up on the top of the palace, and smiling with affection and shyness, they showered flowers upon the Lord.
Oh.
Ah, I see, I feel that. I feel them. I'm them. You know,
Yeah.
I feel this. Text 17. At that time, Arjuna, the great warrior and conqueror of sleep, who is the intimate friend of the most beloved Supreme Lord, took up an umbrella which had a handle of jewels and was embroidered with lace and pearls. Ah, Uddhava and Satyaki began to fan the Lord with decorated fans, and the Lord, as the master of Madhu, seated on scattered flowers, commanded them along the road. So they're just showering him with flowers as he's leaving, just trying to hold their tears in, just devastated, I'm sure. Text 19. It was
It
being
was
heard here and there that the benedictions being paid to Krishna were neither befitting nor unbefitting, because they were all for the Absolute, who is now playing the part of a human being. Yeah. Text 20.
absorbed in the thought of the transcendental qualities of the Lord, who was sung in select poetry. The ladies on the roofs of all the houses of Hastinapur began to talk of him. This talk was more attractive than the hymns of the Vedas. Here we
He loves
go.
it. He loves it when we chat about him. We were just talking about that. That
They said, here he is, the personality, the original personality of Godhead as we definitely remember him. He alone existed before the manifested creation of the modes of nature, and in him alone, because he is the Supreme Lord, all living beings merge, as if sleeping at night, their energy suspended. The personality of Godhead, again desiring to give names and forms to his parts and parcels, the living entities, placed them under the guidance of. Did I skip something?
I don't think so.
The personality of Godhead, again desiring to give names and forms to his parts and parcels, the living entities, placed them under the guidance of material nature. By his own potency, material nature is empowered to recreate.
Yes. Here's the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose transcendental form is experienced by the great devotees who are completely cleansed of material consciousness by dint of rigid devotional service and full control of life and the senses. And that is the only way to purify existence. So they're just chatting up. They're just chatting to each other up on top of this rooftop. They're like, there he is.
There
There's
he
Krishna.
is.
Look at him. He's like the supreme person. Oh, dear friends, here's that very personality of Godhead whose attractive and confidential pastimes are described in the confidential parts of Vedic literature by his great devotees. It is he only who creates, maintains, and annihilates the material world, and yet remains unaffected. Text 25.
Whenever there are kings and administrators living like animals in the lowest mode of existence, the Lord in his transcendental form manifests his supreme power, the truth positive, shows special mercy to the faithful. I said that weird. Whenever there are kings and administrators living like animals in the lowest mode of existence, the Lord in his transcendental form manifests his supreme power, the truth positive, shows special mercy to the faithful, performs wonderful activities, and manifests various transcendental forms as is necessary in different periods and ages. This is what we were just talking about. That's like the comment that somebody left us. Exactly.
Right.
Oh, how supremely glorified is the dynasty of King Yadu, and how virtuous is the land of Mathura, where the supreme leader of all living beings, the husband of the goddess of fortune, has taken his birth and wandered in his childhood.
Text 27. Undoubtedly, it is wonderful that Dwaraka has defeated the glories of the heavenly planets and has enhanced the celebrity of the earth. The inhabitants of Dwaraka are always seeing the soul of all living beings, Krishna, in his loving feature. He glances at them and favors them with sweet smiles. Ah, if only. Right? Beautiful. Text 28. Oh, friends, just think of his wives, whose hands he has accepted, how they must have undergone vows, baths, fire sacrifices, and perfect worship of the Lord of the universe to constantly relish now the nectar from his lips by kissing. Ay, ay, ay. The damsels of Rajabhumi would often faint just by expecting such favors. So they're gossiping about him. They're like his wives. They get to like touch him and kiss him. Wow, what that must be like. I love that because like I can see this scene. It's almost like, like the most famous person on earth is there and everybody's just following the crowds and they're showering him with flowers and like the state has their official songs going and the women are up on the rooftops just looking at him, just like, wow, he's so perfect. And they're just talking about his perfection. And I love the scene. I love the mood that's being painted by this.
Same.
And just how they're even this little part about the conjecture of just being like literally intimate with the Lord, just even in the daily activities, but just thinking about even with his wives, it's like I feel like part of the pleasures, the pastimes of the Lord, the um supreme enjoyer that his wives got to experience is definitely something totally different and
Mm.
completely on a whole different level. That's on a different level
Mm-hmm.
entirely to be able to even handle being in his presence, much less being his wife. I can't imagine. Text 29. The children of these ladies are Pradyumna, Sabda, Amba, etc. Ladies like Rukmini, Satyabhama, and Jamabhavati were forcibly taken away by him from their Svayamara. No, I'm saying that wrong. Svayamvara ceremonies after he defeated many powerful kings. Okay, so this is the part about like he went and stole them. He went and
Right.
grabbed them. And other
Mm-hmm.
ladies were also forcibly taken away by him after he killed Bamasura and thousands of his assistants.
Which is
All
a
of
demon, I believe.
Okay, all of these ladies are glorious. Yeah, I would
Yes.
say so. This is where that story of Krishna having 16,000 wives comes in. Have you heard that before
No.
about how he has these 16,000 wives? I'm not really sure exactly of the whole story, but um, there's a battle, like there was queens. They basically are like, what are we supposed to do now? Will you marry us? And then he does. And that's like 100% trashed that story. Sorry, everyone. But this thing about having all these wives and how they say that he had all these queens, and even though he had these 16,000 wives, he never left his wives alone. And we
Mm.
know the story about him being able to multiply himself
Himself.
when
Mm-hmm.
he was like a child. So I always think about that of what did that even mean? What's that even mean? That he never let them be alone, but that he actually like fathered children while he was on earth. And Krishna had children with his wives. So we know about that. Text 30.
All these women auspiciously glorified their lives despite their being without individuality and without purity. Their husband, the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, never left them alone at home. He always pleased their hearts by making valuable presentations.
Right. So he was always there. He was always there with
Yeah.
them.
Hmm.
Yes.
He's magic like that.
He's magical for sure. Text.
Maharaja Yudhishthira, although no one's enemy, engaged
No, he
four.
skips text 31. When the ladies of the
Um.
capital,
hmm
uh,
Well, the
of the
ladies. Okay, you go.
While the ladies of the capital, Hastinapura, were greeting him and talking in this way, the Lord, smiling, accepted their good greetings, and casting the grace of his glance over them,
Ah.
he departed from the city. So he saw them. It's like he glanced up on the rooftop, like, I see you.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, and they fainted right there. Ah, down they went.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, ah, he looked at us. Text 32. Now, Maharaja Yudhishthira, although no one's enemy, engaged four divisions of defense horse, elephant, chariot, and army to accompany Lord Krishna, the enemy of the Asuras. The Maharaja did this because of the enemy and also out of affection for the Lord. So he just set up he had like a whole display that he did.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yes.
He's like
Ah,
sending him out in glory.
Hex 33. Out of profound affection for Lord Krishna, the Pandavas, who were of the Kuru dynasty, accompanied him a considerable distance to see him off. They were overwhelmed with the thought of future separation.
Yeah.
The Lord, however, persuaded them to return home, and he proceeded toward Dwaraka and his dear companions. Which, of course, I mean, I've done that where it's like I'll
Right.
walk you
I'll walk you
three
to the
quarters
door.
of yes,
I'll
I'll
walk
walk you
you
to
to
the
the
door.
car or whatever.
Yep,
And it's like, okay,
yep.
bye. It's like, well, can we walk down the street with you a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
We'll walk you to the end of town.
Yeah, let me just take you home. Let me just
All
walk
right.
you all the way home.
I'll walk you all the way
No,
home. He's like,
like go
no,
home, turn
go
around.
home.
Thank you. Go back home.
Yep. And he went with his dear companion. So he does have people with him still.
Yes, yes.
Text 34 and text 35. O Sanaka, the Lord then proceeded toward Kurujangala,
Mm.
Pankala, Surasena, the land on the bank of the river Yamuna, Brahmavarta, Kurukshetra, Matsya, Sarasvata, the province of the desert and the land of scanty water. After crossing these provinces, he gradually reached the Savira and Abhira provinces. Then west of these reached Dwaraka at last. Okay, so we know Dwaraka is a real place on Earth still.
Yeah.
So they must know physically where this story took place based on just some of this descriptions of
Right.
where it is. I mean, I know the cities are probably, they could be the same name, but cities change over time. We know that.
Well, it's like when the British took over India, they
Yeah,
changed a bunch of names
changed a
and
bunch of the
things.
names and stuff. So there he went. Off, he finally reached Varka. Text 36. On his journey through these provinces, he was welcomed, worshipped, and given various presentations. In the evening, in all places, the Lord suspended his journey to perform evening rites. This was regularly observed after sunset. And that's it. Thus ends the first canto, 10th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Ay, so good. And in chapter 11, he's going to enter into Dvarka, and that's where we're going to pick up the story next week. Ah, this is getting good, Shay.
Wow. 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 Wow.
I think about how even this idea of, Krishna being there with his devotees in person and gracing their entire lives with his presence, and really how we actually can still have that. And we do have that. And he can come into our lives and grace us in that same way. And that's really what's beautiful about allowing the presence of Krishna into your life. It feels like that. You have this companion now, this protector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I always shout out Wisdom of the Sages, but I am a regular listener there just because I love hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. And for the first time today, listening, I actually like understood where they were at in the Srimad. They were talking about chapter 8,
Okay.
Queen Kunti, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I
I
know
know that
this!
part.
I know this!" So now it's almost dangerous for me to listen because I can like hear stories ahead. But honestly, I think
Yeah.
it's helpful. Look, Spruce is barking as soon as I say that. So what's that trying to tell me? But
Right?
anyway, what I got from them today, something that I took away, my biggest takeaway from them today was like, just chant one round. Like,
Mm,
like
yeah.
it doesn't have to be difficult. And so I was talking earlier in the episode about my meditation on Lord Sri Krishna this morning and the obeisances. And I just began with one round. And it's like one round turns to 2 rounds, turns to 3 rounds, and that's just what happens when you know the sweet ecstasy, as it says. And so, like, just start with one round. It's just like, just start with one chapter, and then what? You
Yep.
want to know what happens next.
Just start with one grain of rice.
Yes,
That's it.
exactly.
I mean, we're getting into it, Shay. Like, we're halfway through the book, like physically, like
I know.
halfway through. We're getting there. I'm excited to read everything.
Oh,
So,
good.
okay, I like doing 2 chapters. We're gonna get 2 chapters in
Yes.
from now
Yeah.
on. I'm trying to talk Shay into recording a second night, so we'll see.
That was my idea.
Yeah, it was your idea. Great
Oh, so
idea. Let's do it.
you planted, okay, so I get it. So you planted the seed, became my idea, becomes
Let's do it.
reality.
I love
I know
everything.
this trick. I know this trick.
Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for
Mm,
your comments. Thank you for liking. Thank you for being here with us. It's so, so appreciated.
mm.
For those of you who are still here at the end of this video, we see you. And we feel you. And thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your conversation, for your comments. And Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Until next
Until
time.
next time. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.